love them. So if you were here last week, you remember that I shared with you some challenges and some frustrations that I had in my recent experience of buying a house and moving. And I shared with you that because I was not happy with that change, I was not happy to move for a lot of different reasons, things were kind of difficult and they went wrong. And we laughed a lot about it last week, or you all laughed as I was bearing my soul. And it was funny after the fact, but it was also a really, really important lesson for me to learn again. And that is that what we think about, what we put our energy on, is what we receive back. It is basic science of mind teaching. It is basic metaphysical teaching. I love the quote that says, energy flows where attention goes, right? You've heard that before, right? Or maybe I need to do a talk around that. So what happened for me last week, and I explained, is that I had all this negativity that I was talking about and I was expressing and I was feeling about having to move and I didn't want to do it. And so what I received back in form was lots and lots of challenges and frustrations. Now what I didn't share with you last week was another very weird byproduct of this whole bizarre experience, because it was a bizarre experience for me. And that was, while this situation was going on and I was moving and getting the loan and things were going wrong and everything else, I found myself very physically uncoordinated. Has that ever happened to anybody? I knocked things over, I ran into things, I dropped stuff, I broke stuff. I think the reason for it is because I was feeling off balance emotionally and spiritually. So it caused me to be off balance physically as well. So probably one of the funniest incidences that happened, I was working at my desk. I'd already moved to the new house and I was starting to get comfortable in it. I was at my desk and I had a fresh cup of coffee and I had a little a glass or a little cup with some nuts and some dried fruit in it, right? And because I was in this state of preoccupation and not focus, I reached over to grab a handful of nuts and fruit and dunked my hand into the hot cup of coffee. I'm just going to say, it was about that time that I thought to myself, Pat, you have got to get it together. You need to become more mindful of what you're doing. Because trying to spin all those plates, moving and packing and running the center and everything else, I wasn't being mindful. I wasn't being in the present for what was in front of me right then and there. As a result, I had all these little accidents and mishaps, including putting my hand in a hot cup of coffee. I didn't get hurt. I mean, I didn't hear any sympathy from you all. Thank you! Hot cup, hand, come on! So it brings me to my topic today. I didn't have it up here because I wanted to show it to you here. Now you notice that the person in the picture is being mindful. Lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to remember, lots of places to be, lots of things to do. The person's mind is full. And if you think about it, aren't our minds really full these days? I mean, we've got to remember passwords and PIN numbers and special codes and phone numbers and email addresses and website address. No wonder it feels like life is sometimes spinning out of control. On the other hand, look at the dog, right? The dog is being mindful. Living in the moment, paying attention to what's happening right now, stopping and smelling the roses, or in his case, probably the trees and fire hydrants, slowing down, just being. Now here's what's interesting about this, is so many of us think that having a busy and active life with lots of places to go and things to do means that we are living fully. And I wouldn't argue with that. In some cases it's true. I mean, we are encouraged to be out in the world. We're encouraged to embrace new things and meet new people and everything. The challenge becomes is that when we are living like that, we are not taking time to actually enjoy this full life that we are creating. Is this making sense? Is it, yeah? Okay, thank you. When we're so busy doing, we are not being. And we are humans being, not humans doing. So we're so busy we don't allow ourselves to be still, to look around, to breathe, to listen, to just be. Everybody go like this. Now there are some of you who may be thinking, yeah, this sounds nice on a Sunday morning, but I don't have time for mindfulness. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to stop and breathe. And you know what? I get that. I get into the human doing myself. And yet, what I have found is that when I do allow myself to take the time to be mindful, to stop and listen, to be in the moment, what I find is that I actually have more time to do the important things. Now, I don't know how this works, that I take the time to do it and then I have more time to get things accomplished. But I think the truth is that when we give our time and our energy to this moment, which is the only moment there is, then we have more time, we have more energy. When we choose to commune with life and acknowledge that life force energy, it reciprocates. Does this make sense? Again, everybody go like this. We're going to be doing that a few times this morning. Lawrence Binion said, "We too should make ourselves empty, that the great soul of the universe may fill us with its breath." We too should make ourselves empty, that the great soul of the universe may fill us with its breath. So I'm going to share with you a personal example, because you know what, that's what I do. I live my life and then I share it with you, the lessons that I learn, right? So this actually happened a few years ago, but it was a great lesson on both mindfulness and also mindfulness. It was the first time in my ministerial career, and if you don't know me, I've been a minister for almost 16 years. But it was the first time that I had ever decided to teach the Edinburgh lectures, which we call in our teaching Troward. Everybody go like this. Oh, Troward. Okay, yeah. Troward was one of the greatest influences to our founder, Ernest Holmes. So this is really important stuff. It's like the real nuts and bolts of our teaching. But there is a belief system, which I shared also, that Troward is difficult to read and difficult to understand. So as a result, and because I was teaching it for the first time, I always set aside some time during my week to really study the material so that I could be prepared, so that I was well informed for the class, because I have found in these 15, 16 years of teaching, you all are getting smarter. You know, when I was in science, in my early days of science of mind, I was not as smart as early students these days. I mean, you guys are getting smarter. So if I'm just a couple of steps ahead of you, I feel like I'm doing really well, right? So here's Troward, and so I'm committing myself to learning and to really getting Troward. Well, this particular week that I'm talking about, I was super busy. I was mindful, right? My house was in disarray because I was redecorating. Beginning to think maybe there's a theme there, but we'll explore that another time. We're working on renegotiating a lease with the center that I was serving at the time. I was in yoga teacher training. I had counseling appointments. I had hair appointments, and I had to keep up with everything on Facebook. So my mind was full. But in spite of that, in spite of the busyness, I had set aside some time to study. So here it was time to study, and I went to go get my very well-marked and highlighted Troward book, and I could not find it anywhere. I looked everywhere. In fact, I looked everywhere a bunch of times. You know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, I must have looked in my car. I am not prone to exaggeration. I must have looked at my car a gazillion times. Honest to God. I looked on bookshelves. I looked in cabinets. I looked under the bed. I looked in the bathroom. I looked in the garage. I called my assistant at the center and said, could you look for me? And it was nowhere. I'm going absolutely insane because the last thing I needed with this super busy schedule that I had was having to study Troward without my cheat sheet and without my notes and without my highlights, right? So as I frantically looked, I kept telling myself that there was a part of me that knew where that book was. It had to be somewhere. It didn't just stand up and walk away. So after a few hours, this is key, hours of doing the same thing and expecting different results, like looking in my car a gazillion times, I remembered what I know, and I forced myself to get quiet. I took some time to tune into that infinite wisdom of the universe, because I knew that it within me knew where that book was. I just needed to get quiet enough to hear it. So after I did that, I went about my business, or should I say my busyness, and I figured that, oh, it's okay, I would just wing it in class the next evening. This is something I never do, right? So the next morning I get up, and I go into the garage, and lo and behold, there is my book in plain sight, exactly where I had put it, so that I would remember where I put it when I cleaned out my car a couple of days prior to that. But because I was so mindful, I had forgotten that I had done that. So here's the moral to that silly story, and I realize it's a silly story, is that I spent a lot of time and energy frantically looking for that book to no avail. And then I spent a relatively short period of time sitting in the silence, connecting with Source, practicing mindfulness, and afterward, the book appeared with absolutely no effort. Can you relate? So this argument that we're far too busy and active to take time for mindfulness doesn't really hold water. Here's what Ernest Holmes said about that. It is most worthwhile to commune with spirit, to sense it and feel it. We commune by listening and feeling the divine presence until the presence is real to us. This inner communion is essential to the soul and natural to the mind. For most of us, it's just a matter of remembering to do it. And hopefully remembering to do it before we drive ourselves insane by not doing it. So I want to share with you another compelling reason for practicing mindfulness that you may not know about, that is, and that it allows us to be more present not only with ourselves, but it allows us to be more present with others. I want you to think about this, especially those of you who are in significant relationships. when there are so many things going on and our minds are super, super full, even if we are spending time with the person that we love, are we really present? Our physical bodies may be there, but our minds and our thoughts and our energy is on all those other things that we should be doing instead of this. And yet when we practice mindfulness and being present to everything that is happening in the moment, in the time that it is happening, it also teaches us how to be fully present with others. Go like this. Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Buddhist monk, said this: the most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers. Isn't that beautiful? When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers. So practicing mindfulness in the form of meditation and quiet contemplation actually improves our relationship with other people, because then when we do spend time with them, it's quality time. We're able to be present with them because we know how to be present. So you may be wondering, yeah, nice theory, beautiful, yeah, whatever. How? How do I do it? I want some tools. Ernest Holmes says we spend far too much time in theory and not enough in actual practice. So how do we do it? I'm going to tell you, life is interesting. The universe is working in harmony with us even when we don't know that it's happening. I knew that I wanted to talk about mindfulness today. At the beginning of the week, I usually decide what I'm going to talk about, and I just kind of stay present to things showing up in my life. So I received an email earlier in the week. It was from a colleague of mine inviting me to check out the latest 21-day meditation experience with Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey. Raise your hand if you're familiar with it. Okay, most of you, all right. Well, you know what? I really wasn't. I had seen the program advertised on Facebook, and I'm not one to really jump on a bandwagon, and I thought it was a bandwagon thing. So, but it was about mindfulness, and mindfulness was on my mind, so I decided I'd go check it out, and this is really, really good stuff, folks. The music is beautiful, the words are meaningful, it's a laid out plan of 21 days, and this particular one, which starts tomorrow, is about being in the flow. Anybody want to feel as if you're in the flow more? This is a very simple to understand and easy way of learning how to be in the present, to learning about mindfulness. I signed up immediately. Now, isn't it interesting that when I had my mind on mindfulness as opposed to mindfulness, that this just happened to show up right at this time? Everybody go like this. Interesting. Want to know what makes it even better? It's free. It's free! Oh my God! All you have to do is Google, when you go home, Google. When did Google become a verb? Right? We Google things, right? So just go home and Google 21-day meditation experience, Deepak Chopra, and sign up. Just think, because I want you to think about this. We could all be meditating and practicing mindfulness together for the next 3 weeks. How cool would that be? Yeah? Yeah. In the meantime, I want to share with you another mindfulness practice that Thich Nhat Hanh has taught. So I'm going to ask Oliver to come up and do a little noodling on the piano. And I invite you to, you know what, let's read through it first, and then we will actually do it. This is from Thich Nhat Hanh. At the moment of waking up, Before getting out of bed, get in touch with your breath. Feel the various sensations in your body. Note any thought and feeling that may be present. Let mindfulness touch this moment. Can you feel your breath? Can you perceive the dawning in each breath? Can you enjoy the feeling of the breath freely entering your body at this moment? Breathe in, I smile. Breathe out, I calm my body, dwelling in the present moment. It is a wonderful moment. So everybody go like this. And if you are open, please close your eyes. And for the next few moments, just allow yourself to be present in this moment. Get in touch with your breathing. Feel the various sensations in your body. Take note of any thoughts or feelings that may be present. Simply allow mindfulness to be in this moment. Can you feel your breath? Can you enjoy the feeling of the breath freely entering your body in this moment? Breathe in and smile. Breathe out and calm the body. Breathe in. Breathe out.